Welcome to Mage Wars. I'm Gerding, and in this video, we're going to talk about all the different fascinating creatures. What makes creatures unique are the combination of traits they may or may not have. Let's take a look. The Corporeal trait. All objects and creatures are corporeal unless otherwise stated. It means they're actually there, like me right now. The Incorporeal trait. The Incorporeal trait is exactly the opposite of the corporeal trait. It means that it's non-living. They're not actually there. So there's three traits that go with the Incorporeal trait. I already mentioned one, non-living. So you want to think ghosts, vapors, that kind of thing. Also burn-proof. You're not going to burn a ghost. If you see a ghost and you take a blowtorch to it, it's not going to do too much. But last but not least, it has the uncontainable trait. Uncontainable trait is different. Some spells don't have an effect on it or have a different effect. So when attacking an incorporeal traded creature, there's some things you need to know. For one thing, when you roll the attack die, only the ones count. Not the twos, not the blanks, only ones count as damage. Now this totally changes if the attack against the incorporeal creature has the ethereal trait. The ethereal trait supersedes the incorporeal trait. So the incorporeal can actually have regular damage, critical damage, and can even have an effect. The only exception to that is burning. Incorporeals can never be burned. The last thing you need to know is that they have no armor, and they also cannot gain armor. It's that rule where anytime you roll one, it does damage against that incorporeal creature. So living. All creatures have the living trait unless otherwise stated. The non-living trait. The non-living trait is the opposite of the living trait. You want to think skeletons here and zombies. So what does the non-living trait do? Well, first of all, they're immune to any poison effect. Also, they have the finite life trait. With a finite life, they cannot be healed. Any damage they have sticks. The flying trait. The flying trait is one of the best traits they have in the game, in my opinion. Because with the flying trait, you can ignore all the non-flyers. Non-flyers and flyers don't interact with one another. Just imagine it. A flyer is in the air and the non-flyer isn't. This also means that flyers can fly over walls. Now, the only thing that can attack flyers are something with the reach trait or any ranged attack. So a ranged attack can attack a flyer even if it's in the same zone. So let's suppose a Royal Archer has an attack range of 1 to 2. Even if the flyer is in the same zone as the Royal Archer can still shoot the flyer. Now keep in mind, flyers and flyers interact with one another, and flyers will interact with non-flyers if the non-flyers are being swooped down upon by the flyers. The fast trait. The fast trait indicates a creature that is quicker than all the rest. For instance, when a creature has the fast trait, it can move into a zone and take another move action into a second zone and then still have its quick action to use. But never in the game can something move once, again, and then again. There's no 3 movements. It's always capped at 2. Next, let's talk about familiars. There's a little bit you need to know about familiars. For instance, familiars may have their own channeling, meaning they get their own mana to cast their own spells. Now, when a familiar casts a spell, it has to use its own mana first before it goes into the mage's mana pool. The other thing you need to know is that when a familiar plans a spell during the planning phase, it's placed right next to the familiar. And if that familiar dies, that spell is also destroyed, even if it didn't get to be used. Familiars are treated as the caster for the spell they're casting. This is important to know, so when you're looking at a spell's range, you're using the range from the familiar. There is a whole lot of traits in the game of Mage Wars. If you want to know more about the traits, take a look at the back of the rulebook in the codex. They're listed and explained there.